We're going to now introduce Rob Gauthier, as he is going to be coming through. And Rob is the channeler of Treb Bor yit-NE. Now, I've known Rob now for about a year. I just, out of my own personal experience, I think Rob is one of the most authentic channelers there is. His information with Treb is absolutely astounding. Treb Bor yit-NE represents a benevolent reptilian human hybrid. You know, it's so great to have Rob, you know, as part of this event, being part of this presentation today. And I think you guys are really going to enjoy the interaction with Treb. Rob, did you want to pop on broadcasting now, if you want to start broadcasting? Oh, Rob says, okay, 2 minutes. Okay, he's just going to take 2 minutes. I think he's negotiating with Treb right now to get in. So, okay, so yeah, we're going to give Rob 2 minutes. But again, thank you everybody for being here today. Again, portaltoascension.org. Feel free to check that out. And after Rob is done, then I believe we have, I think it's Robert Porter that's next after him. Let me just double check the format here. Yeah, then we're going to have Robert Porter, and then we're going to be ending the event today with Anelia Benz. So then she's going to be coming in, and Anelia, wonderful person as well too. You're going to have a really, really great experience with her. But again, a reminder for everybody, please make sure you have your questions ready for Rob, because I believe that we will do a Q&A as well. Rob, yeah, if you're ready, just pop on in, hit start broadcasting. There we go.
All right, there we are.
All right. So, Rob, were you looking to have like an open Q&A with Treb? Did you want me to ask questions?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Actually, if everyone would like to get the questions ready, we'll probably start going into the Q&A about halfway through.
Okay.
He's going to talk a little bit about a couple things and then start taking questions immediately. So
Okay.
any questions that you guys have about the information being presented, you can send them out to Brad and we'll be ready to roll. Thank you, Brad, too.
Okay, great, no problem. So, Rob, floor is all yours, and then once we get into Q&A, I'll pop back on, and then we'll take care of the questions.
All right. Thanks,
so
Brad. Appreciate it. All right, everybody. My name's Rob Gauthier. I am the official channel for Treb Bor yit-NE. You can go to Treb Channeling and look at lots of different things. Treb and me met probably a little over 5 years ago. I met him in an astral projected state while meditating. It was a long journey that took me up to, one that's well documented. If you're ever interested in the story, you can go to YouTube and actually look up the Adronis Morning Show, which is one of Brad's first shows. That's a good one also. The ConsciousMatrix.com interviews with Rob Gauthier and Treb Bor yit-NE. Those two are the ones that tell the story pretty well about how myself and Treb came to be connected very deeply and very well. What we're going to do today is channel, and I asked Treb to talk about some density dimensions, spiritual evolution growth. This is one thing that he speaks about very well. This is one thing that he has a ton of information, nothing that we could ever fit even into an 8-hour block if we tried, but we're going to try to get the basics out there. And basically, what the material will be about is basically the concept that as a spirit, as a soul, we evolve, and there are many steps to evolution in this universe. The universal consciousness that is a collective is something that Treb would call the 11th density consciousness. That's an entire universal consciousness, and it divides itself up into many other ones. The 10th would be galactic center consciousness, 9th galactic consciousness, 8th would be star consciousness, 7th density is a planetary consciousness, and then it goes down. Those entities who take physical forms in a body of some sort, of some kind, that is the representation of 6th density through the 1st. 6th density is the entities that we connect to through channeled states most of the time. These are entities who are considered light beings, ones who still have a physical form in the universal, but to our perception they would be perceived as light. Treb is a 5th density entity. He is almost at the graduating point of 5th density, which will go into 6th density consciousness. He connects to an entity named Aradif, who is much to him as I and Treb are together. The connection that I have with Treb is the same way that him and Aradif connect. Now, Aradif has shared a ton of information about density dimensions as has Treb, and this is kind of the footwork what we're going to go through today. Now, I am a trance channeler, and I am officially now beginning to conscious channel, but tonight we're going to do the part of the channeling that is a deep trance channeling. So what we're going to do, I'm going to get ready to connect to Treb, and this is a several step process. The very first step is me just kind of breathing, relaxing, getting my energy together. Right after that, I start breathing very slowly, and that gets my body into a deep state. After that, I will start ohming. This is very loud, so some people might want to turn your headphones down. It can be very loud. That's a very, very loud ohming sound. Once that is done, then it's a fast breathing. Then I connect to Treb, and when Treb's through the body, it looks a little funny. I don't often do video for that reason alone. Sometimes people get so distracted by the visual aspect of it, it's hard to listen to the information. When Treb comes through, he has very different voice inflection, very different accent than most people are used to. This is a result of the energy itself as it merges with mine, connecting to the throat chakra and changing the voice perspective as it is. If there's any questions that you guys have about any information, Brad's already told you how to do that. So one thing I like to tell people is when you're going through this experience while connecting to Treb, the more that you are happy, the more that you're centered, the more that energetically you feel well, the better that the information reflects, because he connects to you all, to your oversouls when he's answering personal questions about you, and then that's reflected back in the answer. That's how it works. It's a collective consciousness that's connected to, and that's always reflected back into the answers that you receive for your questions. So center yourself while I'm doing my breathing. You can do breathing. A lot of people like to ohm with me. A lot of people like to feel that resonance. So sit back, relax, and we're going to talk to Treb. And about 10 minutes until my time part is up, Brad, I'd like you to let Treb know that part so I can come back, because there are a few things I want to talk about before the 5:30 mark. So please let me know that, and we'll get going. All right, everybody.
Okay, so that's 10 minutes before
Correct.
your time's up, right?
Yep.
10 minutes before.
All right. Thanks,
Okay,
Brad.
yeah,
Appreciate it. All right, everybody. All right. Thank you. And everyone, you close your eyes, breathe with me. Breathing in the nose, filling up your chest and stomach, and then breathing out your mouth. This will help you get in the mode to do it. I am going to go into my conscious channeling. When I do, I'm not conscious of what's going on around me. So when I get back to the other side, I hope that you guys had fun, and we'll talk to you then. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to all of you. I wish to express the idea that the host has wished me to share in this day. The concept that he wishes for me to share with all of you this evening is the idea of spiritual growth throughout each density, through each dimension, through each area of consciousness that you perceive within your own reality, but also the ones that you do not perceive. First of all, let us start with the idea of what is a density. What is a dimension? A dimension is an area of space, time, that is considered to be depth and width and height, but also the concept of time. There are many different perceptions of time depending on which density that you reside within. But let us first look into the concept of what a density is. The way that we perceive densities is different from other races. Many entities perceive a number 1 through 4, others perceive 1 through 6 and 1 through 23. There are many different ways to perceive this. But in the area of densities that we perceive, this area is from first density to 13th density. But in this area of speaking, we will share the concepts of first through 7th density as these are most prevalent and important to you. The very first density that we share is a density that most would call non-living entities, ones that they would project to be elemental in nature, and these consist of ideas of elemental consciousness, perhaps as you would see this to be fire, rock, air, water, electricity. These are the very most common elemental concepts and consciousnesses, and this is what we label the first density. When you look at the idea of what it is to be in the first density, what it means to exist within the first density, what is an evolution of the first density? And this is a very simple answer. The very first and most common concept when it comes to the first density consciousness is that it must exist within physical reality. This is the evolution of first density. It very much correlates to the very first chakra that you have, the red chakra, the very first that is centered in the concept of existing in any area. And this is also the correlation of consciousness. All other densities within the physical universe, from first to sixth density, are very dependent on first density entities to make up what they are in a physical way. Once we go past the first density into the second density, this is what most of you perceive to be animal consciousness. This is what you perceive to be consciousness of perhaps bacteria, animals, plants, things that you see to be living but less conscious than human beings. Now, this is a misconception or a miscommunication for most entities that they perceive the second density being less evolved than a third density entity or a fourth or fifth, but this is not true in any way. The only difference is the amount of consciousness that is given from the oversoul, which we will express and explain at a later point in this day. All entities that are within the second density now expand past simple existence. Now they begin to embark upon the concepts of what it is to be living, having an awareness of a physical life, having instincts that they must live through, having the capability and need to reproduce in one form or another. Now it is understood that upon your own planet, there are many forms of reproduction, as it is sexual or asexual or reproductive in many different forms, and this idea encompasses the complete area of consciousness that you would call second density. The second density is also very well correlating to the chakra that you have within your own system, the 7 chakras in your own body. The second chakra is that of the reproductive organs. It is that consists of excitement and will to move forward and desire to exist. Now, when you look at the third density, this density is one that all of you are very familiar with. It is the density that human beings were at one time, but no longer are, since the area that you deem 2012 in the December area. Before this time, all of you belonged in the third density. So you are very aware of what evolution of humanity is within a third density. It is moving past the simple existence. It is moving past simple instincts. It is moving forward into an area of wishing and desiring and completing the learning of higher knowledge. It comes mostly defined as a pure self-awareness. Whether the self-awareness is skewed by faulty beliefs or whether it is looked at as different from each entity, this is not the concept that we wish to dwell upon, but what we wish for you to understand is that in this area, deemed third density, there is a self-awareness of many varieties. Now, when you look at the evolution of third density, you have seen this exist within what many of you would perceive to be the beginning of mankind, the caveman era. And although many of you that are listening in this day understand that this is not truly the beginning of humanity, it is a very great place to place for an example's sake. Now, as it progresses, each entity lives within their own existence. The beginning was very simple, close to the second density era, needing to exist, needing to build specific concepts of awareness in their environment for their own instinctual needs and purposes, moving forward to gaining more expectancy of what they can experience in that one life. This is why the average age of the caveman era that you would perceive, 30 to 35, was very old, because there was less life that needed to be lived in that point. And as the progression moves forward into the area that you would perceive slightly to the BC, in the Bronze era of your time, they begin to go more than just hunting. They begin to have more than just surviving. There was beginning of politics and social interactions amongst many groups. There also begin wars and specific concepts of not agreeing or interacting well with one another, and this is why lifespans begin to expand. Now that you are in the time period of fourth density, right before this area, you were perceiving that your life expectancy had risen to above 70 years old to 90 years old for the sole purpose that there is many things to experience in these lives. Every density that we have spoken of up until this point is one that is within one harmonic vibration. And for those of you who do not understand the concept of harmonic vibration, what this means is that first, second, and third density entities all exist within one dimension, within one harmonic vibrational level, which means that a second density entity may experience a third, and a third may experience the first. It is above and beyond this where it begins to separate. The fourth density is a growth into the area that you deem love in an unconditional format, whether it be for your own self or whether it be for the understanding of oneness and the collective consciousness. This growth that is being experienced is one that has started from 2012 and now you are experiencing. There are many entities who have came to my own self as well as the host and have asked the questions, if we are in this fourth density nature, why is it that we do not experience fourth density consciousness? They have heard many great stories of being able to use telepathy, of being able to channel, of being able to perceive consciousnesses that are above the vibrational settings of once known third density. But if you examine the collective consciousness, if you speak to people who are living within their greatest excitements, if you speak to ones who are focusing their energy upon the excitements of spiritual growth of their own self, whether it be in a variety of spiritual or not spiritual, these entities are beginning to tap into these concepts. So my answer to the entities who ask this question is, you are in the fourth density. I expressed to them through an example that if you are in the third density area in the year 2012 before the December 31st benchmark, you are an 8-ounce glass that is filled with 8 ounces of consciousness. Now that you are in the 4th density, you are a 16-ounce glass that is carrying 8 ounces of consciousness. So now that you are in the 4th density, you must be able to integrate more consciousness from your oversoul to be able to experience that of what 4th density entities experience. Now that you are moving past this concept and moving into your heart chakra, now that you are experiencing growth, and now that you are leaving one vibrational level and going to the next, now you will be able to experience the capacity of expanded consciousness. This involves much more than telepathic communications. It evolves into much more than being able to channel. This is breaking outside of the experience that you know as a 3rd density experience. This allows you to be able to move past what is known to be just surviving and just self-awareness and duality, and this will allow you to go into an area of consciousness that you prefer. We do not suggest that everyone be loving, that everyone be happy and content all of the time. We do not ask you to be happy to your neighbors and to accept all people in all things. What we would express that if you wish to get the greatest experience out of this life that you want to experience is by being the greatest self that you can be in any one given time. Even if you are grumpy in the perception of many humans and wish to yell and scream at the cars that are driving by, if you enjoy doing this to your greatest extent will place you within the highest vibrational setting of your journey that you are able to experience. It is all about living in your excitements and being the greatest you that you can be. This is what marks and denotes the area that is 4th density moving forward. Now that you have integrated into the 4th density, you will begin journeying through the idea of integrating your own heart, your own unconditional love for all it is, or unconditional love for your own self. You will begin to work into moving to the 5th density. The 5th density is where I reside. This is an area that is known to be the knowledge area. If you correlate it to the chakras, it is in the throat chakra area, and it correlates to the throat chakra energy. It is one that allows you to learn. It is one that allows you to be able to use what you know, to speak from your own heart, and to possess the energy of manifestation in the way that you see fit, the way that you desire. This is a 5th density jump into consciousness. And what we would express that in this 5th density, the very greatest question that we receive is, are you physical in the 5th density? Are you a light being? Are you able to perceive us? And this idea is very simple. Yes, we are able to perceive you very well. We are able to see all vibrations that would be considered perhaps by many of you lower. We would be able to perceive all vibrations that are from a density of 5th down to the 1st. We are able to interact with you, and in our own environment we are very physical. But in the idea of physicality, we are perceived by one another to be very physical to one another, but if you were able to astral project into an environment that is 5th density in nature, you would not perceive us in a full physical way. It is much as you perceive entities in your astral projected state or your sleep state, or when you see apparitions that you perceive as ghosts. These are truly entities that are higher vibrational, that are not in the same realm as you. When many of you see entities that are fully physical, that are extraterrestrial by your own perception, these entities have broken down their consciousness, have projected an amount of consciousness into a very specific vibration that is fitting to be in the beginning of 4th density. The area of consciousness that you are in now is defined as the 4th density, but we have labeled this concept the 3rd to 4th density exchange. Because you are on the cusp of this 3rd to 4th density, you are able to jump backwards and forwards into both of these. You are able to perceive not only the 3rd density that you have lived your entire existences, but you are also able
to start breaking into a higher vibrational status. And this allows you to see a Bigfoot entity. This allows you to see entities that you perceive to be mystical at one point, fairies and leprechauns. This allows you to see many vibrational entities that are much greater, but also be able to experience vibrations of anger and physical fighting and yelling, all of these things that you consider to be so opposite in vibration and polarity, you are able to perceive them. Now that you are moving from the fifth to the sixth density through our explanations of densities, we will express that the sixth density is one that you would perceive to be the third eye consciousness. It correlates to the same chakra, and what this is the connection from your wisdom to your love. It is an expression of being the fullest that you are able to be in a physical form. It is one that is directly before the connection back to oneness. Now, when you experience the idea of oneness, this also comes in many vibrational settings. It also comes in many different forms. You have wholeness and oneness that is considered from the area of perception of the oversoul all the way into a universal consciousness, and all of these have very greatly different vibrations of oneness, vibrations of perhaps separate consciousnesses, as all consciousnesses from the highest universal consciousness begin to fractalize as they are going downward. So even in this is considered oneness to your own perception, but is still not complete 100% connection back to Creator Source. There is a variance in this energy that you are able to perceive a slight separate connection, even though you are able to tap into all of the energy and all of the information. And in this sixth density physical body, this is the closest that you are able to achieve in this physical universe. This physical universe is one entity amongst many entities and has its own rules and regulations and sets of evolution, and in this evolutionary step it is set up very specifically this way. Now let us step into the seventh density. This is where non-physicality begins. This comes in two separate levels. One level that is considered the lower seventh density, which is the Oversoul itself. The Oversoul itself is the sum of all first through sixth density entities that you have perception of abilities on, that you have capable energies connected to a probable past or a probable future. And this is where you will begin to connect to those things that you perceive as future existences and things that you perceive probable existences. This energy in sum and in total is what is a whole Oversoul. There are many Oversouls within the Earth collective consciousness. There are many groups of souls in collective consciousness, and in this collective consciousness all of the Oversouls, when they are placed together into one group, make the high seventh density collective consciousness. This is the Earth collective consciousness. The entity you see itself as a seventh density high entity, or the high seventh density entity, is manifested physically as the planet that you call Earth. And as all of these consciousnesses interact, all of these connect, when we express it from the lowest vibration or the lowest density and take it to the highest density in physical incarnations, then you perceive a growth and a spiritual evolution. But let us explore the concept to you and express that when you go from the seventh and go downwards, this is actually the fractalization of consciousness. It is one consciousness that is all together and breaks down into several smaller pieces. We wish to express that all of you who have questions, we will be able to take them whenever you are ready.
All right, thank you very much for being
Yes!
here today. All right, well, so far we have two questions that are available, so I'm just going to go ahead here, just take a moment to pull them up. So the very first question here we have is from Yasmin from France, and Yasmin asks, Could Treb offer guidance to raise vibration to the 5th dimension?
Yes, there are many things that you can do to raise the vibration to 5th dimension, whether you look at this as the newly found human evolution or the newly found human vibrational frequency. And what you are able to do in this moment is be the greatest you that you can be. It is not mandatory that one must sit in a circle with thousands of entities and speak at the top of their lungs. All of these things are very great and can be very useful as tools, but what the system requires you be is that you are your greatest self. And if you are living in your excitements, this is contagious via the etheric grid that many of you call this, or the electromagnotheric grid. Your excitements, your expressions of happiness, your expressions of living in the excitement go into this grid and redistribute itself to the rest of humanity. This is the very greatest gift that you can give to anyone. This is the greatest way to raise the vibration to a level that will help assist all within their own journey that they desire within themselves.
Thank you very much, Treb.
Yes.
Okay, so now we have a question here from Luke. So I'm going to pull this up. Luke from Canada asks, how long will it take for us to move into 5th density?
The density layers and levels of progression is very different for each specific civilization. Within your own consciousness, this is up to humanity as a race in whole. If you wish to complete the level within 10 incarnations, within 10 specific incarnations per person or per collective, this is up to you. What can be done in the majority of many entities' growth and evolution? This can take anywhere from approximately 10 incarnations all the way to several thousand incarnations. This is something that you have seen of 3rd density as humanity decided to take a much slower pathway from 3rd to 4th density than most of the other collectives. But in doing this, you also gave yourself the greatest gift of being able to learn more about what you are as a soul, about being able to learn more about what you are as a human, and being able to experience the greatest array and gambit of energy that you can experience in this existence.
All right, great. So we also have a follow-up question here from Yasmin from the last question here. She follows up by saying, yes, but how do we practice from a weak ego, strong ego, to strength of ego that is our navigator here on Earth to reach pure, mature love?
Yes. What can be said in this idea is that there is a misconception of ego from many humans, and it is very great to hear your own perception of ego. What many people believe the ego is a negative thing, that it is something that is a burden to them. And what you have suggested is that this ego is a very helpful tool, one that helps guide you, and this can be very true. What many humans do not know about the ego concept, they believe that once you achieve 4th density, you remove your ego and you become integrated to higher consciousness, and this is not always true. What we suggest is that the ego does not leave. What it does is it transforms, and the way that it transforms is not through a level of disconnection, one that is comfortable living in the system in which it involves its own purposes and its own desires, but what it transforms into is your feeling of single perspectiveness. Many entities who choose to go into an area that many would call type 2 or service to self, what happens is they take their ego and it becomes a very great part of them, and it always keeps them separate from all others. But what an entity that is more of a type 1, one that is willing to connect to all, one that is perhaps service to all or service to others, this entity will take their own consciousness and they will advance their ego to a point of perception where they have their own individual insight, but still is able to connect to all that is. Now, if you wish to convert your own ego or to grow it in, the excitement point that we expressed previously is the greatest way to align yourself, but there is nothing that has to be done to grow into any consciousness. All that you must do, if you desire to do this, is be your own self in any given way, in any means, and to try to change the perceptions that you believe are limited. In your questioning this idea, the energy that comes in this question is now you are limited and you wish to know how to become unlimited. First, you must see that you are not limited, that you are truly unlimited in all ways. And once your perception becomes locked upon this, once you begin to live as if you are unlimited, then you will see the ego progress into what it can be.
Thank you,
Yes.
Treb. All right, we have our next question here from Karen from Austin, Texas. And Karen asks, what is an example of an experience of the fractalization process you just mentioned? Can you speak more on
Yes,
this?
the fractalization consciousness let us use a story to show you the way that fractalization works. When you are going through your existence as an oversoul, there are many designated concepts that you wish to experience about what the Earth collective consciousness may give you. There is many things that you wish to do in a desire to have all experiences that are capable. So what the oversoul does is expresses its wishes and desires to all of the other oversouls. They are communicating as one and express to all others, we wish to experience anything from this polarity to this polarity. And then they begin to fractalize their own consciousness into many levels, many specific timelines, many areas of consciousness that they desire. There is one concept that we desire as an oversoul to express our own self in an area of consciousness that we seem limited financially, that we wish to have very strained friendships with others, so they will place them in an environment that fits best into this. And as the oversoul begins to fractalize that consciousness, it begins to set up not only the existence that it wishes to experience, but several existences previous to this in a linear time fashion that will help connect this idea to that one. It will help build an environment that is conducive for the experience in the higher density. Experiences of time are not felt in the same way or experienced in the same way by the oversoul, so the oversoul is not banned into any one set of evolutionary rules. It is not bound by any one concept that we must do this or we must do that in order to achieve an experience that we wish. So in fractalization, there comes a very high degree of efficiency with the oversoul in its way to distribute specific energies to each fractal. As you are a fractal that is experiencing the third to fourth density exchange, what you are doing is in the expressions, the example that we use of the glasses being more filled, the more that you align with yourself, the more consciousness the oversoul will feed into the larger glass. And this is up to the fractal as the oversoul, once the physical body is incarnated, begins to step back from this. It lets the fractal's free will decide and determine how much consciousness is given to it. It is very strictly dependent on your own actions, your own beliefs, and your own energetic interactions with everything.
Thank you,
Yes.
Treb. All right, and our next question here is from Sabrina from the US. And Sabrina asks, how does your species reproduce, Treb? Is it physical? What do you look like? And what do you
Yes,
eat?
in our own race, there is a non-sexual reproduction, and what we are able to do is we are able to have what you would perhaps see as scientists create physical bodies that are within an area that you would perhaps call a carbon style of egg, and in this egg there is proteins and amino acids, and they are developed into a physical incarnated body, and the consciousness from entities who have left physical reality are able to incarnate into the physical body. This is how an entity from our own race is born. There are many various descriptions that many human entities have given to us in our own physical body, but in our own physical body, from the perceptions of each other, the way that we appear would be approximately 7½ foot. We are a reptilian human hybrid with very much of the reptilian looks to us. So we are of a green-blue skin with large purple eyes. We do have a tail, but one that is not extremely long in comparison to the reptilians that you would perceive as ancient reptilians or Draco entities that you would perceive. And in this way, we are having scales that are very large and very smooth skin. And when you see us, each one of us has our own representations and manifestations of small dots with a color of bright red within each area. This is a very accurate description when it comes to the overall collective and the average look of one of us.
Thank
Yes,
you,
let
Treb.
us describe as well as the dietary concept of what we eat. In this area, we are not eating food as your own race does. What we are doing is manifesting energy from the source consciousness, or what you would call the collective consciousness of the entities upon our own planet. And what we do is manifest all things in an instantaneous fashion, and we manifest perhaps what you would perceive to be a metallic soup, and this energy is just a representation of us nourishing our own physical body with source energy. It is not truly a food, and we do not truly digest this food. This is just a representation.
Very good. And Treb, you also have teeth as well
Yes,
too,
we
right?
cannot forget about the idea of the teeth. This is one that the hostess makes fun of very often with me. When you look at the teeth, there are many teeth, and this is back from the second density entity that we once were as a reptilian animal. Our own lineage is very different from the reptilians that you perceive from the Alpha Draco or even the Earth reptilians. What we are is a race that is coming from perhaps, as you would see, a probable future humanity race, and these entities become very short and very highly psychic in capability, and these entities come from the star that you call Beta Leporis. These entities found a reptilian animal, one that looks much as your Komodo dragons or your Permian era monster lizards, if you will, not the ones from the dinosaurs, but from the age before this. And what they did is mix their own DNA with this entity and begin a third density race that is now what we have progressed into.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Treb.
Yes.
And we have a question here from Neil and Robert, and they ask, is your civilization on a planet? If so, what planet and in which star
Yes,
system?
our own planet is one. If you look at the idea of the star that you call Capella, this is not one true star. In the sky it is perceived as one star, but when you come much closer to this, it is four stars within a system. In this four-star system, there are two large stars that are greater than the size of your own sun, but there are two ones that are very small, considered to be red dwarfs. And if you look into the largest of the two red dwarfs, we are in a planet that is third from the star outward, 3 of 9 planets.
All right, great. Is that all, or was there more information on
Yes,
that?
there is much more information if you wish to express this, but this is specifically the star in the area and the planet which we reside upon.
Okay, great. Now, you mentioned that you are a hybrid race. Is there another hybrid race that was responsible for your
These
creation?
entities are not of a hybrid nature. They are a direct lineage from the probable future humans, which are called the Nihil. But in their own connection, they are sharing their own DNA with an animal that is very much as your Komodo dragon, as we have expressed previously. And when they mix the DNA, they connect to the idea of a reptilian race that can be helped along, that can be taught, and that can be connected to with positive energy. In the idea of their own timeline as they progressed, the galaxy in this moment, in this reality, in this timeline, is filled with many entities that are reptilian, that are perceived and considered to be negative, the ones that we would consider to be type 2 entities, and these entities, although they are perceived to be negative, are a majority of the reptilian energies. I am in an area of consciousness that is of type 1, that is considered to be a minority within reptilian energy, but when the Nihil made our own race and connected within their own hybrid, there was only 2 reptilian hybrid races that were type 1 energy. So they were coming from an existence where 99% of all of the reptilians in their own existence were of type 1. They wish to show not only humanity but many races that it is not the reptilian energy that makes a negativity, it is the perception of others, it is their own reflections that help project this idea. So they wish to experience a reptilian race that is of type 1 that may assist others, so that the galaxy may see that not all reptilian entities are negative ones.
All right, thank you very much, Tim, for
Yes!
explaining that. Okay, now we have another question here, and this is from Anissa from Paris. And Anissa asks, whoops, sorry, that was weird. Let me try and get back to that question. Pull that up again. Okay. Anissa asks, how do we facilitate our connection with our higher self and oversoul?
Yes, and there are many ways that you are able to do this. One of the greatest tools that you have within your own planet is the concept and idea that if you are able to still your own mind or to meditate, that this can be very useful. And we do agree with this, as it is a belief of the collective, which makes this much easier. But in reality, in the way of truth, you are always connecting to your higher self. You are always connecting to the oversoul. Being able to trust your own intuition, being able to trust the energy and information that is brought down to you by the higher self is the very greatest tool that you may use. It is not so much that you must find the answers are already there. The idea is that you must trust yourself enough to receive and accept the answers that you are being given. It is being mindful, being aware, and being connected to what you truly are that facilitates the greatest connection from higher self and oversoul.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Treb. So we have 2 more questions left. So I'm going to go over here to, actually, no, I think we got 3 questions. Let me see. Vicky has asked a question, so I'll pull up Vicky's question. Vicky from Newport asks, how did Rob begin his channeling experience, and how did he first meet this being? Has his body changed to be able to receive the energy of this being?
Yes, I will not speak directly for the host, but I will express to you the ideas that he is giving to me now. He is expressing that during his own growth within his own mind and heart, he began to open the pathway that is least resistant for the connection from me to him, and in this way we were able to meet in a meditative state. Now, when you look at the effects that this has had on the host physical body, there has been many energetic effects and also physical effects. When he began to connect to me, there was no physical way for him to channel, as his beliefs were very limiting to the channeling concept, but also the idea that the throat chakra was very blocked, and this was one area that was very essential for our connection. Through his own ability, he began to speak his truth, he began to connect to wisdom without judging this, and this helped open the throat chakra area, which allowed a communication that is more conducive, one that allows the channeling aspect of our communication to begin.
Right, thank you
Yes.
very much, Treb. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Heidi here, and Heidi has a question. Treb, can you tell us a timeline of when your race or other races will make themselves known to all of us on
Yes.
Earth?
In the energy as you perceive it now, the first connection that we would have to the human race would be more than 32 years away in your own time, and this is because first contact cannot be had by a race that is so different from yours, physically appearing so. The more likely concept and the more likely people or entities that would be able to connect to humanity would be ones such as the Ariel, who are very physically appearing to be as humans are, who will not scare them in the interaction, in the exchange of energy that you must have in order to accept entities from outside of your planet. And this 32-year area is approximately where our own race would be able to connect if the energy and the time that it is now would be consistent for this period. But as we know, one concept about time and energy is that it is always changing. If humanity desires to connect to our race more so in a collective way, it could be as small as 7 years.
All right, very exciting.
Yes!
Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and hear from Britton here. And Britton from Colorado asks, do we have full power to manifest our lives and passions, or is it still subjective to the collective?
Yes, you have always been able to create your own existence, to create your own desired path and passage. What the collective does is help co-create your experience. If you believe in what the rest of the collective believes, then this can be very detrimental to your own growth and manifestation. But let us use an example that in the country that you would see to be India, there are many children and many adults who eat poisonous metal, a metal that you call mercury, and they are able to eat this on a day-to-day basis, and it is because their own mindset, their own belief systems will help create this experience for them. It will help them live long lives without the mercury poisoning them. It is because their beliefs are stronger than the collective belief. And this is how you may overpower the collective, if you will. This is one concept that will help separate the collective beliefs from your own. It is a truth that when you are creating, there is a formula to creation, there is a formula to manifestation, and what this formula consists of is using the example of a computer program as we have previously. The belief systems that you have are the parameters of the program. Nothing can go outside of the parameters that have been set by this program. And this is your own beliefs. And when you are connecting to your own concepts, your own thoughts, this is the information that is being put into the program. And when you act upon your excitements, when you act upon your beliefs in one way or another, this is hitting the enter key upon the keyboard, and what you get in physical reality is what comes back to you from this program. Nothing that you do can go outside of the beliefs that you have, and the less solid a belief is, the more likely that you are able to break outside of that parameter. So what do we suggest if you believe that the collective is holding you back? To remind yourself consistently that it does not, that your own belief that it does is what is helping create a stagnant energy within trying to create something. This can assist you very greatly.
Very good. Thank you very
Yes.
much, Treb. All right, and so we're going to take two more questions before we bring Rob back. So the next question here we have from James White, James from LA. It's a personal question. He says that I've just recently started to channel in the form of writing and poetry. I've been told my true name is Ta-O-Ne, and I have also communicated with a female, Sha-Ne. The only reason I ask is that your name is so similar to the names I've been receiving. Does this say something about me? Or does this say anything about me, or merely coincidence?
Yes,
Thank you.
I am not able to connect to an energy without its permission. So as you are asking me, this will be the permission that I need to connect to your energy. So as I am connecting to your energy, I wish for you to close your physical eyes, to push the energy from the center of your chakra line and the inside of your body to the outside. And as you focus upon my own energy connecting to yours, I will connect to this idea. One moment, please. Yes, the idea that these entities are connected to me, it is very much connected to my own energy, but this is because I am allowing my energy to connect to all energy. The name idea and the name connection is what perhaps some humans would call coincidence, but a better way that I wish to project this concept is that there are a natural sound that is caused from the galactic energy from each entity, and as you receive these specific sounds, this is not a true name to an entity. It is an energetic signature of the entities in the way the energy projects to yours as it connects to the oversoul. These entities are directly connected to your oversoul, and if you are able to place an intention to connect to them in a sleep state before you go to sleep every evening, this will be one of the greatest ways to gain clarity of the physical appearance of these entities as well as your own connection to them.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Treb.
Yes.
All right, so now we have a question here from Valine from the US, and Valine asks, music is very powerful and universal. How do other beings like yourself live and experience music in your lives? How can we use music to assist us here on Earth? Beautiful question, guys.
Yes,
Good job.
this is a very great question indeed. When my own race connects to music, this is not the same music that you would have upon your own planet. The music that we enjoy the most is a vibration of the throat tone, much as the host did when connecting to mine. It is a going up and down of vibrations within the throat that create a sound. Perhaps our sounds to your ear would be much more musical than the host's vibrations within his throat, but it is still very similar in the way it is projected. What I wish to express of all energy within music, within your own interaction, that music is very deeply ingrained into human DNA. Human DNA is a mixture of many races' DNAs, and the entities that you perceive to be Arcturian, as well as the entities that you perceive to be Pleiadian, are all very connected to the concept of pure harmonic vibrations. This is what you perceive as musical notes, and as the soul connects to a fractal, all portions of the DNA that you have reconnect back to the oversoul. So you are truly and literally drawing upon the energies of Pleiadian and Nocturians that you have within your own system. This is the musical resonance and the feel of joy in all of humanity's hearts when they connect to music.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Treb. And for our very last question, this is from Heather from Alberta, and she just says, in one word, Treb, what message do you have to improve the human experience?
Using one word is perhaps an idea that I cannot adjust my own energy to, as it is not as resonant with the idea of limitations. If you wish for one word, the one word would be yes. But if you wish for more than one word, then I will give you live in your heart. Know yourself, connect to your own feelings of what is correct for you, and this is the greatest guidance that anyone can give.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Treb, for your interaction, and thank you, everybody, for your wonderful questions today, and I hope you really have enjoyed Treb being here. And Treb, thank you so much for coming through the host and being with us
Yes, you
today.
are very welcome, and I am very excited to connect to all of you. And with these ideas being expressed, I will leave you all in love and in light, and we will connect energetically again very soon. Good night.